Hello, internet. Ignore this half of my hair. I washed my hair last night, and it usually takes a day for the curls to work the way that they want, so this side's still processing. I'm really mad at it, but I need to film, so what can I do? Today's video is going to be another question and queries. This is going to be an actual question rather than just me ranting or wondering about something or something that I'm kind of peeved at. I just kind of want to know and like test out feelers for how most people buy books, because like I buy a lot of books and I try to buy books as often as I can. So I just wanted to know that if you guys don't mind sharing how you buy books and what your preference is for how you organize books, how you add books to your wish list, and so on, like tell me, because I'm just really curious. So I'm going to tell you guys how I buy books because I might as well ask you and it just kind of explain what I'm talking about, even though I think it's pretty like self-explanatory at the end of the day. So when it comes to buying books for me, I do not like buying new books if I can help it. I never buy anything over $15. If the book is over $15, I will not buy it. I don't mind new book price when it's around $13 to $12. I'm good like that. That's fine with me. Usually you have to like search on Amazon and wait for the price to drop or something. But if it's like around $13 for a new book, I'm alright. That's fine. But I don't usually buy new books at full price. Like, that's simply not happening. I am very particular with what books I buy online. So if it's buying books online, I have a long wish list. I will go through each synopsis of each book and their cover. I will then gauge the interest that I have in reading that book and how soon I would possibly read that book compared to other books that I might purchase in the future or to books I already have on my shelves. I then always buy enough books so that I can get free shipping from Amazon, and it's very meticulously done. Like when I'm buying online, every book is carefully chosen. Every price gauge, I've checked every version, I've looked at all the prices, I've weighed paperback versus hardback. Sometimes I go on BookTube and search up reviews of a book just so I can try to see if someone's holding the book in their video, so I can have a gauge of what size it is, what it sort of looks like, whether or not the cover is matte, whether or not the paperback looks better, whether or not the hardback looks better, what the book looks like naked if they show me that. Like, I do a lot of investigating when it comes to buying books online. I also like buying books at like secondhand bookstores or tradable bookstores like McKay's or Second and Charles, like those sort of stores where you can go and buy used books and also trade books that you don't want. When it comes to bookstore buying, I'm a lot more willing to go outside my comfort zone and buy books that I don't really know much about, or maybe I'm just sort of okay with. There I tend to binge buy because all of the books are usually at a pretty decent price, around $6 to $7, and I'm okay with spending a lot of money because I know I'll come out with like a pretty decent box of books. I go into a bookstore and like I have this whole plan. If you go to a bookstore with me, you're going to be there for a minimum of 3 to 4 hours, okay? Like, for me, a bookstore trip is a whole day. Like, you have to be prepared. And I warn everyone who I take to the bookstore. If I go with you to the bookstore, I understand you don't want to wait for 3 hours, and I get really mad because I feel like everyone's rushing me and I kind of need to like process and like pick and choose and everything. But when I go to the bookstore and I take people with me, like, you better be prepared. So we get to the bookstore. I always like going to the bookstore as soon as it opens. I want to be the first one there, okay? I want to make sure that I have the best opportunity to buy all the books that I want and no one else is grabbing books that should belong to me and putting them in their cart. I'm selfish like that. So I'll show up as soon as the doors open. I will then go to the YA section. I go to the YA section because it is easiest to navigate, right? I'm very familiar with YA. It's something I've read a lot of. I usually tend to know what type of YA I will like and what type I won't like. So that one, really easy to navigate. I will go shelf by shelf, down the aisle, very slowly, looking at every single book. I will then reach the end of YA. I will then go to middle grade, because middle grade is also easy for me to decipher. I will then go shelf by shelf, every single column, looking at every single book, seeing if anything intrigues me. And then once I'm done going through both of those sections, I will head to the sci-fi fantasy sections in adult. And guess what I do? I go shelf by shelf, looking at every single book, looking to see if something catches my eye. Once I'm done with that, I go back to YA, back to middle grade, back, and I do this like 3 or 4 times in rotation. Usually in the middle of one of those rotations, I'll go check the manga section or I'll go check graphic novels. I do not usually rotate around in the manga section or the graphic novel section as I do with all the other sections, but I will always check them at least once when I enter a store. In one of my rotations, I will go and check to see if there's anything that I'm really interested in or anything that I've heard about that I'm like, oh yeah, I want that. So I do check those sections, but usually that's why it takes so long, because I'm rotating. And when it comes to picking books in a bookstore, especially one where the book pricing is pretty cheap, I just put everything in my cart. So anything that catches my interest, I put into my cart when I'm making through. It has to be lower than $13, and then it goes in the cart if I'm even vaguely interested about it, because I don't want anyone else picking it up. I'll make my rotations, and through making my rotations, I'll be calculating how much money I'm spending by buying this cart of books, and then I'll put back the ones that I'm not as interested, or ones that kind of lose compared to another book that I happen to find. So that's kind of how I gauge it. I put everything in my cart in my first few rotations, and as I'm continually walking around, I'll stop, I'll calculate how many books I have, how much that costs, and then I'll like do pros and cons of each book and how invested I am into buying each book, or whether or not I'm picking up a book because I saw a picture of it once on someone's Instagram or BookTube or whatever, or whether or not I really enjoy it. I usually don't do any book shopping outside of that. The thrift stores I'm around don't have good selection. I'm still really pissed about it, but I do occasionally go to the thrift store. Sometimes the dollar store has books that I'm pretty interested in. I have gotten a few books from the dollar store that I really liked, so sometimes I'll check there. Like, I'll go to Walmart, any store in which there is a section that sells books, I will go there, but majority of my book buying either comes from Amazon, simply because like I like using Amazon and it's what I'm most familiar with. Although later on I want to try Book Depository and Book Outlet. I've kind of been scoping out Book Outlet, but I haven't quite figured out how to work it yet. Like, I don't understand their format yet, okay? So like I know I can get like cheap books there, but I'm still trying to figure out their format so I can buy and find books that I'm actually interested in. Because with Amazon, I troll a lot. Like, I'm on Amazon every day, all the time, looking up different books, discovering new books, seeing which ones I'm interested in, and doing that on Book Outlet isn't as easy for me, so I've been slowly trying to figure out that. And then I want to try Book Depository as well, because there are several books that I want the UK cover for, so I know that is a good place to go if I want to order the UK cover. Because it's easier to find UK covers on Book Depository, obviously, than it is on Amazon. Because if you're trying to find it through Amazon, especially for me who is like using America Amazon, it takes a while and some searching, because you gotta like search 20 different search terms just to find one single book. Like, it took me forever to try to find even one book that was God's Grave and have the UK cover. I was just like, oh my gosh, this takes forever. And you can't even type in the name God's Grave because it doesn't even respond. You gotta type in several other key things so that you can figure it out. It's like, it's a whole frustrating mess. So like, that's usually how I buy books. I'm very, very, very particular on what books I buy online. I have a whole system to figure out which ones go into my cart and then which ones don't. When it comes to buying at a bookstore, especially a like secondhand tradable bookstore, I will put literally anything in my cart as long as it sounds decently interesting. And I have like a sort of price range, but I'm a lot more lax there. And then I'll have like $100 to $150 in my cart, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll try not to go above $200 if I'm at a bookstore, but I'll be like, okay, let's decide which ones I'm really willing to buy or not. So there's that, and I'm willing to try other book vendors and see how they work, but at the moment I just buy on Amazon or I go to the bookstore. And I wish there was like thrift stores or charity shops or something nearby that had a decent book collection, but not really. Most stores near me do not have a book collection that is decent. If I want to go to the bookstore, I gotta drive a couple ways. I gotta drive for my books, and that is not a trip that I can make all the time, which is probably better. Okay, it is probably better for my wallet that I actually have to plan a trip out to go to the bookstore, but at the same time, come on guys, I want to live closer to a bookstore. Oh, I never ever go to Books A Million or Barnes & Noble. I rarely go there, not only because there's none near me in any location in where I live in, and you have to go and travel to find one, but also you don't get good deals. Barnes & Noble, come on guys, like I shouldn't only be able to find good deals for you guys online. I want some good deals in the store so that like I feel like I'm not getting cheated, because sometimes when you go into these bookstores, right, when you go into Barnes & Noble, you'll pick up a book and you'll look at it and you'll be like, okay, exact same book. There's no signing, it's not a special edition, nothing special about this book, but it's like $50, and you're like, what? So then you go and look on your phone because you're just like, what's this price on Amazon? And you look it up on Amazon and you're like, it's $6 on Amazon. And I'm just like, nope. Barnes & Noble, I'm going to Amazon. So I'm just saying, Barnes & Noble, you want my business, you better have some incentives for me to go there and buy. I think like what they're doing with the Barnes & Noble exclusive covers are really good. I was happy that I could get like signed copies at Barnes & Noble, but it's not somewhere I frequent because most of the time I could just order it online and get it for like $5 to $6 cheaper. So might as well save those $6 and buy another book with them. So, you know, so like I kind of went off on a tangent just explaining to you guys how I buy books, but I am really curious. How are you particular about how you buy books? Do you have a long wish list that you meticulously sort through and figure out which books you buy? Like, how do you gauge? Are you mostly an online shopper? Do you go in store? Do you pre-order books? I'm sort of mixed on pre-ordering. I like pre-ordering because I like the concept. I like having that, but at the same time, I'm really impatient, so I don't want to spend money on something that I'm going to have to wait forever to get. Like, I know it's going to be months and I already don't have my money. So a lot of times when it comes to new releases, I'll buy books the day they release rather than pre-ordering them. I've only ever pre-ordered 1 or 2 books, and even then I think I pre-ordered them the day before they were released. Yeah, I know. I might eventually start to get into pre-ordering, yes, I might, and do it a little more consistently, because there are definitely books that sit, like I have an Amazon like wish list that's just called pre-ordered books, where they haven't been released but they're books I'm definitely going to buy. I just haven't pre-ordered them. So if you have any comments on anything that I said, or just sharing your experience with buying books and how you prefer to do it down below so that I can kind of gauge how everyone else buys books, because I want to know. Are you organized buyer? Do you just buy anything and everything because it's a book? I have no idea. I have no idea. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue seeing more, click all those buttons down below, and goodbye, internet.